Okay, next I'm going to remove the spring and shock tower and remote reservoir. It's a pretty basic process. No. Okay, springs are out. Just need to disconnect those brake hoses, and then I'll put some axle stands underneath the front axle, and I can go ahead and remove the control arms and then go do the same on the rear. Well, I've almost got a handle on this thing. I've got a cherry picker engine hoist thing with a cable around here. The other side is dropped right out, and I've got the floor jack and then some plywood bits over on the other side just to kind of catch the pieces against the floor. All right, we are winning the war. Front axle is out of there. All I need to do now is jack up the rear end, put the rear frame on jack stands so that the rear axle can droop, and I'll pull the shocks and leaf springs and axle out of there, and then I can lower this thing right down and finally get the cab lifted up and off and set it back here where the box goes. Okay, the plan of attack back here, that coil of line is for the air locker. Basically, I need to disconnect the brake hose from the axle to the frame. I've got to pull the shocks off, remove the drive shaft, remove the tires, and then once I have this off, I can just leave the axle sitting on the ground on this rubber mat and lower the frame kind of right down on top of it. I need to get the frame as close to the ground as I can, and then I can move the cab and kind of proceed forward. Things are progressing nicely. Drive shaft out. Got some tape around that. I got new U-joints pretty much everywhere on this truck except for the two that go in the front drive shaft right towards the transfer case. The bottom one has a new one, but the two top ones didn't really want to come apart, and I knew I'd be rebuilding the transfer case anyways, so I figured I'd wait till it was out of the truck. So I've got the two ones here, but anyways, taped up so they don't come apart. All the hardware is in their holes, shocks are out of here, you know, all that kind of stuff. So things are progressing nicely. I think I am now ready to start dropping the... Oh, actually, I gotta disconnect the brake hose right here. Oh, no, that's a vent. This is the brake hose here. I gotta disconnect that. And then I think that rear axle's ready to drop. Well, here's a fun little use for my little gantry crane I made. Got a couple of chunks of cable down around the axle. Everything's all unhooked except for the leaf, so just pulled the first bolt out and didn't line up, so I was able to lift it up a little bit, and then I can drop it in a nice controlled way. This has a Warren 1000 AC little electric winch on it, so I wish I had more opportunities to use this thing, but I'm sure glad I'm using it now. Alright, I think we're ready to lower the rear axle down. I jumped the gun a little bit with undoing these because I actually have to lower this off of the leaf springs first. You have to drop the tank before you can lower that one there, the front of this leaf spring, but anyways, that's fine. So I've gone ahead and just cut all the parking brake lines. They don't work. And honestly, it's all getting replaced anyways. All right, going down. Let's see how this works. Okay. All right, well now comes the kind of sketchy task of teeter-tottering this thing down so it's basically sitting on the frame rails. What I did first of all, I had the front end was axle stands on those wooden blocks there, and I had it up pretty high. So I lifted the rear with this little gantry crane with the tires and the box and the axle off it and everything. It seemed to be able to handle it no problem. So I had it on blocks all the way around, so I put the axle stand there. Okay, it must be said, I do not recommend this method. I'm not saying that this is safe or the proper way to do it or any of that kind of thing. You know, this kind of stuff is really dangerous. That's a lot of weight sitting in the air. You know, I've never really thought about lifting the front end of a diesel truck with a engine hoist. I will tell you though, from my perspective, I used to be a crane operator. You know, I feel confident in the load capacity of this stuff. I mean, sure, that engine's 1,100 pounds or 1,000 pounds, whatever, but you got to remember though, 2 tons, I mean, that's 4,000 pounds. And this is a Canadian model. If they're talking metric tons, I mean, that's possibly like 4,400 pounds. So, you know, I'm not recommending that this is the way to do it, but I'm going really slow. The other option, I do have one of these big blocks that's long enough for my floor jack, but it would require me to kind of be under there, fiddling around a bit more. There's a couple of really bad pinch points. You know, if I was down along this side and the truck tipped over sideways or something like that, I mean, that is going to be super dangerous getting caught in between this kind of stuff. So again, I'm not recommending this as a even remotely safer, accurate way of doing things, but given my options and my personal history, this is what I'm going with. Now I've got the front end supported with this 2-ton shop crane. I've got it all the way in for maximum load capacity. I've got these cables around the frame rails, and now I've removed the blocks and I'm just going to lower them down onto these axle stands, and then I'll just keep doing it, you know, a couple clicks at a time, and just try and keep it as slow and controlled as possible and get this thing sitting just on these wooden blocks and get the axle stands right out of there. And then I should have it low enough that I can pick up the cab with the gantry crane, roll it back over the box, and then start getting serious about this motor. Okay, so now it's sitting on the axle stands. You know, the weight is definitely on the stands, but this is there as kind of a safety. Now I'll come back here, lift this up off those axle stands, drop them down a couple notches, and lower it on down. Okay, so I'll lower these down a bit and just keep teeter-tottering it all the way down. Well, a bit of a surprise. I will say this truck is probably sitting as low as it has since I was at the factory. It is so weird seeing it like this. I think it still needs to go lower though. This little crane set up here will maybe be about a foot over it, but when you think about all the flex from straps and stuff, I don't think it's enough. Currently there's kind of a weird situation going on. I've got blocks up front and back here, but the back won't lower anymore because the weight of the engine is actually counterbalancing it, so it's just kind of sitting here like this. So I am gonna have to make some lower blocks tomorrow. I'll go get some boards and stuff, and yeah, I mean, there's still so much room that it could go down, and then, you know, you got to think it's going to need to be lifted sort of up over all these brackets and then hopefully set back here somewhere. So I don't think it's quite low enough. So anyways, that's it for me today. I'm going to have to go get some blocks and continue on here. But anyways, we're making progress. Just put the axle stands back under there for tonight. Leaving the pressure on this side just a touch, you know, just to keep things secure. Lots of blocks and stuff underneath it, and then I'll put a little bit of tension on this as well. Okay, and then feel pretty good leaving that for the night. All right, well, hopefully by tomorrow we can have the cab sitting on the back and I can start getting serious about pulling the engine and tranny and all that kind of stuff out of here. But anyways, we're getting there. It's pretty exciting to see this thing getting stripped down and man, I cannot wait to put her all back together again, nice and clean and new and good to go for another 25 years or so. All right.